Thank you for tuning in to the Practical Preservation Podcast. Please take a moment to visit our website, practicalpreservationservices.com, for additional information and tips to help you restore your historical home. If you've not done so, please subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud, and also like us on Facebook. Welcome to the Practical Preservation Podcast, hosted by Danielle and Jonathan Kepperling. Kepperling Preservation Services is a family-owned business based in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, dedicated to the preservation of our built architectural history for today's use as well as future generations. Our weekly podcast provides you with expert advice specific to the unique needs of renovating a historic home, educating by sharing our From the Trenches preservation knowledge and our guests' expertise, balancing modern needs while maintaining the historical significance, character, and beauty of your period home.
Today on the Practical Preservation Podcast, I have Steve Jordan with me. Thank you for joining me today.
You're welcome. I'm pleased to be here. It's a miserable day outside. I'm happy to be inside.
Yeah, there are days when it's either really cold or just kind of miserable out that I am really grateful that I don't have to work outside, and I'm thankful that my husband and everybody else is willing to. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your background.
Well, I started painting houses when I was a little kid. I was probably 12, and then I put myself through college painting old houses, and I learned about wood graining and marbling and decorative finishes. And when I graduated from college, I kept on painting. And I think, good or bad, I come from a long tradition of men who want to work for themselves.
Right.
Okay? Yeah. So at middle age, I went to school at Cornell in their graduate program for historic preservation. And that was a great opportunity for me, even though I felt like I was the old man in the class. I left there and took a job in Rochester, where I still am. It was 33 years ago, for a not-for-profit, where I worked for several years. I went on to work for a preservation architectural firm, where I wrote condition reports and inspected old buildings. And I think I learned more there than in any other job I ever had. That was a great opportunity for me. You know, I wrote for Old House Journal for 15 years, maybe. And then, you know, in around 2002, I started my window business, and I teach classes when I can. I do want to say that, you know, I'm sort of drifting toward retirement. I'm trying to work half days now. I'm way more selective about what I do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate your willingness to share your knowledge with us, because I feel like that is something that you know, as people retire, that we are losing. Not that it's all lost, because you know, people like you have written books and things like that. But I know for a long time, my husband was the youngest on a job site.
Yeah.
And he worked with my father for over 20 years. And, you know, my parents retired a few years ago, and, you know, more and more people are retiring, and there aren't as many people that are coming up through the trade. So
yeah.
I appreciate you willing to share your knowledge with us.
Sure. Yeah. I feel a little bit like I owe it, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. No, that's great. And it's I think that it's important to keep, you know, you said you're going to work in half days and being more selective. I think that's also, you know, it keeps you busy, and it probably keeps you more engaged than if you just, you know, completely retired.
That's right.
Yeah. So what drew you into preservation?
That's interesting. It's interesting how we take directions in life, and it's interesting to reflect back on it. But as a little kid living in the Mid-South, at least in my area, all the old homes were either neglected, torn down, and I remember a few of them burned, and people didn't care much about the old properties. They wanted to replace them with a new brick house. Okay,
Right.
this would be the early 60s and mid 60s. And I don't know why that bothered me, but it did. Okay. And when I went off to college to Memphis State University, I put myself through school painting. I worked for a company that worked exclusively in the historic Central Gardens district. So whatever budding interest I already had came to full growth working in Central Gardens. I just loved the houses, and the neighborhoods we worked in at that time were from about 1900 to maybe 1930.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And that there is a huge change in architecture, after World War II. So that makes sense that even though they weren't really old then, they were, they were definitely built, the way an old house is built. I do consulting work for our countywide preservation organization, and they did a survey in the 90s. It really needs to be updated, but they really had a bias against early 20th century buildings. So now when we go back to look at the survey and they, gave them the lowest score for architectural significance, and we're having to defend them against demolition, it makes it a little bit hard. But but when you're closer to it, it doesn't feel like it's old.
Yeah. It's interesting working in Central Gardens for those years. I didn't really know about historic preservation. And my employer was more or less a general contractor. So I was exposed by sheer happenstance to almost every part of the building trades,
right.
Whether it was gutters being soldered, standing seam roofs, plaster cornices being run, floor finish, plastering, wallpaper. I was involved in all of it, and I had no clue that this was historic preservation.
Right. They just weren't calling it that. They weren't calling it that. Yeah. Yeah. So, well, very good. Well, so tell me a little bit about your window business and what services you offer, and the geographic areas you serve. I know you said you're scaling back a little bit, but.
Well, I work in and around the Rochester, New York area, western to central New York, and I started doing what we call window tune-ups, the very basics to make windows work again. Mm-hmm. New cords, replacing glass, unsticking them, and things like that.
Right.
I knew that there was a need for this because having worked for the not-for-profit and for the architectural firm, there were very few people you could call on to take on this work. Yeah. Carpenters thought it was too much trouble, that it was tedious. So that evolved into full restorations, and sort of exploded on me when I purchased my first commercial steam box, because then I realized that with the big steam box, it was way more economical to take on a whole house full of windows. You could get them in and out of your shop way quicker than if you were trying to remove the putty with a infrared or a heat gun.
Yeah.
Okay. I also provided storm windows. I did not make them, but I provided them. I had a couple of people here that made them for me. And I did a lot of storm window work, occasionally aluminum storm windows. I wrote condition reports, both for small residences and huge, 300 window buildings.
Right.
I never made new sashes. I don't have millwork experience, so people did that for me. And I was so busy with what I was doing that I didn't see a need to move on to that. So now, as I am trying to be semi-retired, which is very difficult to do, I am more careful about who I work for. I don't want anybody demanding anything of me, and I'm trying to do work that I can usually get in and out of in a week or so.
Yeah.
and I'm still overwhelmed with work. I never catch up.
That is very true. That's not a bad problem to have, though.
That's a great problem. Yeah.
What was I thinking about? Yeah, it's amazing to me, even now with the internet and how many, I live preservation, so I'm aware, that there are people who restore windows. We restore windows, but last week I was talking to a woman. She's like, well, we have to replace our window. One of the glass panes is broken. And I'm like, no, I said, these are actually made that you could replace each pane of glass individually. It's like amazing.
That's right. Yeah. Well, the preservation boards have a problem with that because applicants come in and say, my windows are worn out. And so the board will say, well, how do you know? And my problem with that is then they ask me to go look. Well, I'm, one of the only games in town to repair them. So I see a problem with me saying, yeah, they can be fixed. And then I'm the person to fix them.
Right.
There's a conflict of interest there that I've dealt with for years.
Yeah.
That I wish would go away.
But most of them can be fixed.
Yes, they can.
So you're telling the truth.
Yeah.
So tell me about some of your notable projects.
Well, most of my work has been locally, although I have occasionally taken jobs a few hours out of town. And I've worked on houses of local significance and regional significance. I did the windows and actually supervised the restoration of the Susan B. Anthony House here in town. I was a consultant for the window work, which is currently underway at the George Eastman House and Museum here in town. A few years ago, I restored the windows in the Sodus Lighthouse out on Lake Ontario at Sodus Point. And that was one of my favorite jobs ever, being on the lake.
Oh, yeah.
In the fall, a wonderful breeze. And I'm a talker, so the visitors would come in and out. I had to talk to all of them.
Well, they probably all now have an appreciation for the traditional trades.
I hope so. I turned down a lot of work, and some of it would have been significant work because the projects were either too big for me. I've typically worked alone or with one helper. So if the project was too big or too far away, then I would turn the project down.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that makes sense, especially if you're busy where you are.
If you're busy. I want to say here somewhere, I have beer with friends on Friday that are all contractors, okay? And they don't have websites. And they would say to me, well, why do you have a website? You have all the work in the world. And my response to that is, well, yes, I didn't really need more work, but the website allows me to pick and choose the work I want to do rather than being forced to take everything that comes along.
That is true. And I think your website's very educational too. Yeah. If somebody isn't in your area and just needs to be educated.
Yeah. So I that sort of changed the direction of all my work. Mm-hmm. I probably have had it up 10 years. That's been a good thing.
Yeah, that is. So tell me about your different publications. I know I saw a couple books on your website, and you had some other things on too.
Yeah, you may run into books that aren't available anymore. Okay. But I published the Window Sash Bible in 2015, and the Window Sash Bible has been a great seller for me ever since. I'm thinking about doing a second edition, adding a few things to it soon, but that's been a great book, and it's sort of a beginner's guide to window restoration, top to bottom, storm windows, glass replacement, almost everything you want to know. Okay, the book has been a great thing for me. Okay, because the book allowed me to meet a lot of other people that are interested in this, whether they're professionals or homeowners, and I've enjoyed that.
Right.
Because I'm a people person. My new book is called Storm Windows, A Comprehensive Guide to Wood, wood combination, aluminum, and interior storm windows. It's a short book. It's about 60 pages. There's nothing else like it on the market. And I self-published the book because Amazon doesn't do color affordably. So I did it myself. Marketing, it's been a real chore, a task, but I'm working on it. Okay. It's a great book about the pros and cons of every different aluminum, wood, interior window choice. What's best for you. Okay. I think that if you were a homeowner and you were conflicted about what you should put on your house, that it would be a great read. Okay?
Yeah. And I think that that's really important, because not every storm window works in every application. And so it's good to know your options and to kind of figure out what's best for you.
Yeah. I wrote a book called Rehab Rochester 25 years ago, and I am editing and rewriting that book right now. That's a homeowner's guide to old house maintenance and repairs.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to getting that back out again. Interesting. Someone said you should republish that, and I pulled it off the shelf and reread it after 25 years, and I can't believe how outdated it was. And
oh no!
Rewriting it. So just for fun, I'll tell you one thing. Okay, in one chapter it says, never attach your television antenna to your chimney. Okay, well, that's pretty dated. That's like buggy whips and Easter bonnets. And the book was full of things like that, which have really changed in 25 years.
Yeah. Those kind of things definitely have changed. Even satellite dishes. I don't know of, most people aren't even using those anymore.
Yeah.
And I know that there's a guide in Lancaster that they talk a lot about, because that was a huge thing in the historic district, where to put your satellite dish.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are some common misconceptions that people have about their older windows?
I think that the biggest misconception might be that old windows are inefficient. And in some cases, if neglected, they are inefficient. But they can be updated for a reasonable amount of money so that they are competitive with a new window or with a replacement window. Mm-hmm. I have to say that most people don't understand that when you tell them that. The issue is that if you have a good storm window and a prime sash, that's your main window, that's weather sealed and in good shape, then you're approaching the efficiency of a new or a replacement window.
Right.
If I sit across the table from a salesman and argue with him, he'll beat me in the numbers.
Right.
But the numbers don't mean anything, really. The truth is that new or replacement window won't pay for itself in energy efficiency during the lifetime of that window,
right,
which might be 20 or 30 or 40 years. It will not replace itself in energy.
If that. I've seen newer windows fail in less than 10, depending on the condition.
Yeah, I have a file that I occasionally send to people when they want me to recommend new windows. I don't know how to recommend a new window, because I have a file that's about 6 or 7 pages long of cases where windows have gone bad,
right,
and lawsuits and those sorts of things. And it's every brand. And so, I'm not going to put myself out there to recommend a brand.
No, it's the ones that I've seen fail are, ones that you would assume would be, but it's the materials and it's the construction, and that's not any, that's just what the issue is with them.
Yeah.
So what tips do you have for people to use a storm window?
Well, choosing a storm window is a subjective thing. everyone has preconceived notions about what they want, and if they don't, that's a good thing, because then the book will be helpful for them. But there are the aesthetics, utilitarian features, and some people, might want an aluminum window simply because they're very low to no maintenance. Okay.
Right.
So if aesthetics is your goal, then a wooden storm window is absolutely the best. They just look right. They're made to mimic the proportions of your prime sash.
Right.
And a lot of people don't know this, but a wooden storm window can be made with removable panels, so that you don't have to do that annual switcheroo between the screen and
Oh,
okay. And so a lot of people hear that and they're excited about it. And on occasions, I used to take someone's old wood storm window and turn it into a combination wood window with removable aluminum frame sashes. Okay, it's a good thing.
Wait, almost like a combination door, like a okay, yeah.
Some people like aluminum storm windows because of their utilitarian features. The triple track goes up and down. You can take the sashes out from inside and wash them, and they're low maintenance. What I in the book try to impress upon people is that there are good and bad ones. Mm-hmm. And that they make aluminum storm windows that look just like wood storm windows if you know where to go. And they cost a little more, but they may be worth it. Okay, I think the primary thing about aluminum storm windows is that occasionally the frame intrudes upon the sight lines, and so you don't want to see it when you look out from inside. That's a big problem with aluminum storm windows. And then interior storm windows are great when the window is too high to access easily. They're especially useful around here on old steel windows, which are kind of not good for our climate. They tend to have a lot of condensation and icing in the winter, and the solution is a good interior storm window. Okay, or an interior storm window can be used to reduce exterior noise. And for a third layer, if you want a third layer against energy loss.
Right. Yeah.
So, you got to figure you got to throw your balls in the air and juggle what your needs are and wants are, whether it's aesthetics, utilitarianism, or what.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And we when we recommend or install storm windows, we don't always, we don't get them all from the same company, because there are different applications, different ones work better. So yeah, definitely. I hadn't seen the wood windows with the combination of, that's a great idea.
Well, I'll plug somebody for that. The Spencer Works out in Omaha, Nebraska specializes in that. I think Adams Architectural Millwork specializes in that. Those are great deals if you order a lot. The shipping can be expensive.
Right.
And, your local mill worker guy who makes storm windows can do the same thing.
Oh yeah, definitely. Very good. Well, thank you, and thank you for those names, because I'm sure that'll be helpful.
Yeah.
So what trends or challenges do you see in preservation?
Well, there's always the issue of presenting preservation in a reasonable sort of way to the general public. Okay. I've worked in preservation now for a long time and gone through the property rights movement and all the other obstacles to what we do and love. So we always need to present it to the public in a reasonable way so that it's more acceptable. However, the big issue to me now is the shortage of people in the building trades, and particularly the preservation building trades. I see this problem affecting local preservation, local neighborhoods where the preservation board might tell someone that they have to keep their windows. and yet the windows do need repairs or restoration, and there's no one to do the work.
Right.
Okay. There's just no one to do the work. Yeah, and it's not just windows. It would be an appropriate porch rehabilitation. There are very few people that know how to do it right, what materials to use, or standing seam copper roofs and slate work. Or plaster work. Oh, and one that stands out to me is stucco. Real old-fashioned stucco. Finding someone who is experienced in that is very difficult.
Yeah.
So these are some of the problems that I think are that need to be addressed the most.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that there was a real disservice. When I was graduating from high school, they were just really pushing everybody into college, and college isn't a good fit for everybody. And then it also drives me crazy when they try to say, oh, all the people that are struggling in school, we should just put them into the vocational training. I'm like, no, because you have to have a brain.
Yes. Yeah.
You have to be able to like do the work, and so just putting them there, that's not going to be the solution either. So there has to be a balance.
I told a woman, or a customer, I should say, I shouldn't talk like that. I told a customer that I needed an apprentice. I needed a helper badly.
Yeah.
Okay. And she responded back to me, oh, I know someone that might work out for you. Do they have to be smart? And I thought that was the most insulting question.
Right. It is.
Yeah, they have to be smart.
Yes. Yeah. They have to actually you use different skills than other people use. I mean, sometimes it's amazing to me the spatial skills that my husband has that I don't. Like, he can look at something and see if it would fit together, without actually like going to measure, doing all the things that I would have to do.
Yeah.
So it is. It's a different skill set, but I think that there's definitely been a disservice, and not. I mean, I'm more worried about the traditional trades, but all construction across the board is suffering from a labor shortage.
Yeah.
So,
you know what? I was in New Orleans 2 weeks ago, and we were on a long drive and we got lost, and we left it up to Google Maps to get us back, and it misdirected us into a neighborhood that had been ravaged by Hurricane Ida.
Oh yeah.
And that was, a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And this neighborhood was so sad because their sheetrock and cabinets and furniture and roof materials were all on the curb, but it was very clear there aren't enough contractors, and this is very basic big box store carpentry. There weren't enough to take care of all the work. And so people were living in trailers in their front yards as the houses were open to the elements. It's a problem all around.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So, was there anything before we wrap up? Was there anything that you wanted to share that maybe I didn't think to ask you?
No, I don't think so. I think you covered all the questions. Okay.
Very good.
Yeah.
So where can someone purchase your books?
Well, if you purchase the books through me, you would go to either my website, which is window-bible.com, or you'd go to Storm Windows Guide, that's Windows plural, stormwindowsguide.com, or paintintheglass.us. Okay, any of those will take you to my book.
Okay, very good.
And they'll all take you to me. People send me questions all the time, and I usually answer them late at night.
Very good. Well, and then so that also probably answers the question of how people can contact you then to just go to either any of your site. And we'll make sure this gets hosted on our website. We'll make sure that it's there too. So if somebody's listening and a chance to write it down, they can go to our site and then click through to find you.
People can also contact me at sashbible@gmail.com.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
at Gmail. Okay, very good. I'll make sure that's up there also.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed our conversation, and
All
I
right.
appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you contacting me about this. I'm glad to disseminate information about historic preservation and historic building trades. Okay.
Yes, thank you very much. Have a good rest
All
of
right.
your day.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Practical Preservation Podcast. The resources discussed during this episode are on our website at practicalpreservationservices.com/podcast. If you received value from this episode and know someone else that will get value from it as well, please share it with them. Join us next week for another episode of the Practical Preservation Podcast. For more information on restoring your historic home, visit practicalpreservationservices.com.